Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast 1017. Today I have Dr. Ramzy Dakour. He is actually joining us in the Health Corner segment and he's updating us about the coronavirus. So Dr. Ramzy, tell us a little bit about,
Hello.
thank you for being on the show again, by the way.
Thank you.
So give us an update, like what have you been noticing with the coronavirus? We kind of want to know, it's been spreading fast. Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things to update. We now know of course, there's a lot more cases. It's in 67 different countries now that it's been confirmed. Mainly China, but then right after that, South Korea, Italy, and then Iran as well. So there's now about 88,000 cases around the world, still with a death rate of about in between 2 to 3%.
Mm-hmm.
A little more statistics since there's a lot more cases now. So far, about 80%, maybe a little more than 80% of the cases have been very mild,
Mm-hmm.
which is good. About 18% have been in the serious and critical range. And that, of course, is very age dependent. You kind of see a spike at age 50 on up. You definitely see more of it 60 on up, and then even 70 and 80 on up, the death rate is closer to 20%. So it's definitely affecting older population a lot more. There is one thing I wanted to correct from our last episode. It's really kind of a minor point, but it does kind of help more with the history of how this virus evolved. Originally, it was thought to have come from snakes, but now it's being thought that it's come from bats,
Right,
which is consistent with what SARS and MERS started, and bats, and then an intermediary source, which they think is probably the pangolins, which are anteaters in China.
Wow.
So it's not directly transmitted from bats, but from a bat to an intermediate animal source, and then to humans.
So did someone eat the bat, or did someone get bitten by a bat that would cause this virus to go through humans?
Yeah, I mean, it's the bat transmitting it to the anteaters, which then transmitted to the humans, either through consumption of the meat or through contamination of other things with their saliva and mucus and blood and so forth.
Jesus. So tell me about, seems like people are really freaking out about this virus because it's spreading fast. But if you think about it, I mean, more people get the flu than they do these types of viruses. So why are people freaking about this one specifically?
Well, it is more severe than the flu. Of course, about only 0.1% of the population that gets infected with flu ends up dying from it, and this is much higher. It's about 20 times higher.
Wow. Okay.
The death rate. We're at the point now where there's still really a lot to be known about exactly how many cases are out there, whether it's underreported, exactly where the virus has spread. So the thoughts are that this could very soon, if it's not already, become a world pandemic.
Wow.
And the general assumption is that that's going to be the case. That's going to be an announcement probably within the next few weeks.
Jesus. So, I mean, what can we do? What can we do to prevent this? I know it's spreading fast, but it's, in certain areas. Is it best to leave those areas? I mean, what can we do to protect ourselves?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's important to know that, still the chances of contracting it are remote. Unless you're in China where it started. Yes, there are cases widespread, but at this point it really shouldn't affect your day-to-day activities. Maybe to reconsider some international travel, especially the countries where there seem to be more and more cases popping up. Really the best thing we can do with this or any type of outbreak is take care of ourselves and get as healthy as possible. And that means, washing your hands frequently, multiple times throughout the day. You should probably get in the habit of doing that. Just maintaining good health, exercising, eating right. There are definitely studies that show that sleeping well helps, increase your immunity, helps your body fight off disease. And there's actually a good video that my cousin shared with me that goes into this, and we could link it to this podcast. But definitely, sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night, can help with your immunity. So really at this point, it just kind of, taking care of yourself. It's not to the point yet where we have to be, suspicious of every single person we come across that has a sneeze or a cough.
Right. Have you heard any, through the research you've done, have you seen that anyone could possibly find a cure for this? I mean, if someone, let's say, does get coronavirus, is there a cure, or is just death is the result?
Well, they're working on a vaccine, which, is going to be your best prevention method. Of course, that realistically, we're looking that may not come out for another year or so, maybe a little bit less, but realistically, that's the case. Certainly, I think they're also trying to work on medications to combat, the virus for people who do contract it. Like we do have medications for the flu that don't cure the flu, but they do help diminish the symptoms and diminish the amount of days that you're infected. So, they're working on those as well, but really at this point, there's not much.
Right. So it sounds like it's spreading, but it's not something we should be concerned about too much right now, just because it is spreading, but not as much, I guess, in our areas.
I don't think you should drastically alter your day-to-day life.
Right. Okay.
But just be cautious, especially if you're going on international travel, especially to high-risk areas.
Mm-hmm. And for our kids, what do you think? How is this affecting our kids? Should we be doing something differently for the children?
Well, something that's interesting is that the virus seems to be very mild in kids. They don't really seem to get very sick with it. A lot of them are, even asymptomatic, which doesn't mean that you shouldn't take any precautions for your kids.
Right.
You should still take the same precautions, especially, getting your flu shot, because, we know the virus does affect people more if their immune systems are already compromised. But it is kind of a little interesting that the kids kind of seem to be spared from the worst of it, which is a good thing.
Which is very much of a good thing. Just curious. It's interesting how their immune systems are a little bit stronger. Okay, well, I mean, Ramsey, thank you so much. Seriously, because I know there's not much to talk about it, but to give us this update is very important, because as we're kind of keeping an eye on it, we do want to make sure we're informed and ready for whatever's to come.
Sure. I mean, at this point, there's still a lot of questions, and we're only two months into knowing about this virus, so there's still definitely a lot of unanswered questions and things that we're going to learn in the future, or inform people that listen to the CDC and what they put out. Hopefully we'll be able to trust them, and they'll be acting independently. But look to them for further guidance.
Perfect. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And guys, listen to Dr. Ramsey. He knows what he's talking about. And if you have any questions about the coronavirus, please feel free to reach out to him. I'm sure he'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you so much, Dr. Ramsey.
Thank you, Adil.